Cheryl Curnow is no stranger to the hunter. Her parents live at Fingal Bay and she was a prefect at Maitland Girls High when former State Transport Minister Milton Morris encouraged her to enter politics. Today she caught up with her old mentor, who is now head of the Hunter Valley Training Company. Mrs Curnow says the government got it wrong in the last budget, but believes this time around more money will be directed to training and job creation for the skilled.
I think there will be significant sums of money in the next budget, particularly for youth unemployment, and I think that that's a role that the Democrats will be able to play in all the pre-budget discussions that we've been promised.
Some of the apprentices Mrs Curnow met today had been long-term unemployed, but with new overalls and shiny shoes, they are embarking on an intensive trade preparation course.
Everybody can't have a university education, but that's not to say that the contribution tradesmen and women make to Australia's future is not just as important.
With Parliament due to resume shortly, Mrs Curnow was presented with a gift, a handmade cannon to fire shots at her opposition. Jodie McKay, NBN News.
The council wants to prevent the ravaging bushfires of recent weeks from reoccurring, or at least reduce the level of damage. It believes a hazard management plan may be the answer.
We could have made it better if we had a hazard management plan in place and in fact operating, but that requires the goodwill of a lot of people, particularly landholders.
With the cooperation of the public and large landholders like mining companies, the plan will include building fire trails, clearing reserves and hazard reduction burning. Part of the management plan will involve council responding to the several hundred requests received from residents for the clearing of reserves near houses. Also addressed will be calls from concerned neighbours for council to take action against private property owners who are neglecting to clear their own land. Mayor Kilpatrick says council will hold a 2-day workshop this month to formulate the management plan. But is council's urgence a knee-jerk reaction?
Not a knee-jerk reaction. I think it's probably an updating of priorities, because when you have a budget, there's always people with requests with roads, drainage, and I think now obviously there's going to be a need for greater funds to go towards hazard management.
And that need may still increase, as the worst may not be over.
You know, there still is a very grave risk in Lake Macquarie. There's an extraordinary amount of bushland really just on the western side of the lake that hasn't burnt at all.
Catherine Lamont, NBN News.
The alert came when regular monitoring revealed hazardous levels of blue-green algae in the Williams River northeast of Newcastle. A warning is given when there's 15,000 cells per millilitre of water. Late today, the count had risen to 25,000. The algae grows at incredible rates when high levels of nutrients, encouraged by fertilisers and urban runoff, combine with hot and dry weather. It's a recipe for a dangerous toxic cocktail. Contact with blue-green algae can cause serious damage, including skin and eye irritation, stomach upsets and severe nausea. Boiling the water won't kill such high levels of toxins, and a warning has gone out for all river users to take extreme care. Recreational use is being discouraged, and farmers warn not to allow livestock to drink from the river. Only a few kilometres away, water from the Williams is pumped into the Grahamstown Dam that provides Newcastle with 60% of its drinking water. So far, domestic use has escaped contamination.
We won't pump from the river while the bloom is at its present level. We only pump from the river when the bloom levels are way down and when there's a big flush of water coming through following heavy rain.
Outbreaks of blue-green algae are a constant threat to future water supplies. Authorities believe the solution lies in reducing the amount of unwanted nutrients flowing into the waterways.
In addressing that, you don't go up and monster farmers and tell them they have to change. It's an educational effort where everyone needs to cooperate and be committed to the solution.
Melinda Smith, NBN News.
In the last 12 months, Newcastle police have arrested 3 people for major break-and-enter crimes. One 38-year-old man is serving a jail sentence for 96 separate offences. Information supplied by the public helped police. Tomorrow, the latest phone-in begins. Unlike Operation Noah, which targets drugs, and Paradox, which concentrates on child sexual assault, Operation Beasley is concerned with all crime, including fraud, car stealing, robbery, assault and drugs.
Operation Beasley, Constable McCallum speaking.
A lot of people ring in information. Some people ring up and say, I don't want to bother you because I don't think it's worth it. But what we believe, that small amount of information certainly fits into what we consider as a jigsaw to attend to other matters.
All calls will be confidential, and according to Detectives Senior Sergeant Vince Fallons, it's likely arrests will follow. The information will also help in the planning of future crime strategies.
But any information obtained will be analysed for future operational plans and to plan strategies to deal with types of crime trends.
The operation will cover Newcastle, Lake Macquarie, the Hunter Valley and North de Coffs Harbour. The 4 phone lines will be open from 6 o'clock tomorrow morning until Thursday night. Jodie McKay, NBN News.
A wicked witch, 2 lost children and a happy ending. All the ingredients for a hit with a younger audience. But the Freewheels Theatre Company's production of the Grimm Brothers classic has a few fans among bigger children as well.
It's magical. When this curtain opens and you see the forest and then you see the gingerbread house behind, it's lovely. It's just, the audience even goes, oh, it's so colourful.
The production will combine the old world charm of the Civic Theatre with state-of-the-art lighting and staging effects, as well as high drama and dance.
I think that the basic quality of fairy tales are that they're timeless, that they speak to us about specific things that we all have to come to terms with, or things that happen in our lives.
She may appear demure, but put her on home plate and she wields a mean bat. As rookie and baby of the State Open team at last week's National Championships, 18-year-old Natalie Ward was named Best Batter of the series.
It was great, as soon as that was my first year, yeah.
Pleasing the Newcastle resident. After 2 months off with a knee injury prior to the championships, her form gained her selection in the Australian Open squad. Making it a family affair, Natalie's elder sister Linda is also in the national side.
I'll have to knock my sister out of position, I think.
Australian commitments will see the shortstop and part-time pitcher play in several international matches, including the World Championships in July. 15-year-old Robert Powell also blasted his way onto the scene at the Australian Under-16 Championships. Although a pitcher, Robert, in his first time playing for the Blues, was named Best Batter at the meet.
As everyone says that pitchers can't bat and that, so made me feel good.
From the pitching mound, Robert had only 3 runs scored against him throughout the championships. His pitching rate clocked at 107 kilometres an hour. When you're playing, what's your greatest satisfaction you get out of a game?
Probably winning a game and no hits being scored off you.
Now back in Newcastle, Robert is anxiously awaiting the announcement next week of the National Softball Academy squad.
The Bulwarra cottage near Maitland will provide temporary care for 12 children with intellectual and physical disabilities. It aims to give families some assistance with the care of their children. 12-year-old Ben Jeston is autistic.
Our son and others will come in here for 2 weeks of the month, and that gives us a chance as a family to regenerate almost.
Mark Jeston says it was difficult accepting that the family needed help to look after Ben. However, having made the decision, they discovered there was little help available.
There isn't very much available, and that's what prompted the group to actually lobby the government for this facility.
According to the New South Wales Council for Intellectual Disabilities, there's a desperate shortage of respite care and permanent accommodation statewide. Just yes or no, do you know how many people are waiting for permanent care?
Because of the range of different options that are desired by people, that figure will vary immensely just on how you define what are the needs of people.
While the Minister couldn't confirm how many people are in need, he did say increased funding will allow more places like Bulwarra Cottage to be built. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
He's one of League's good guys and a valuable ambassador. Mal was mobbed by fans wielding paper and pens during a visit to Lake Macquarie Fair. About 100 people listened as the Canberra, Queensland and Kangaroos captain gave his predictions for 94.
It's going to be a tough season as most years. Broncos are going to be the team to beat again, no doubt. We'll see how it pans out. We're very confident with the way we're going to go this year.
The Raiders just missed a grand final berth last year, finishing a close fourth. They'll be getting in some pre-season practice next week, however. Mal is flying out tonight for New Zealand to join the team, where there'll be more of this, as well as some demonstration games against Manly and the Auckland Warriors, one of the 4 new teams set to join the Winfield Cup lineup next year.
Well, League is monstrous over here at the moment, unbelievable, particularly with the coverage they get on television. And obviously got the Warriors coming in 95, so it's very important that League keeps a high profile in New Zealand.
Despite telling a disappointed audience he won't be swapping his green Guernsey for a red and blue one, Meninga has lost none of his popularity with his Hunter Valley fans. Joanne Shoebridge, NBN News. It's been a long, hard fight for the community of Weston, and one which last night gained the full support of Cessnock Council. The city's $29 million account will be transferred to the Weston branch of the Commonwealth Bank in an attempt to keep the service centre open. If that fails, Council could take its business elsewhere.
The bank still closes. We're going to call for tenders from other banks who may have an interest in the elderly and the disadvantaged.
Weston residents today welcomed the news. The Weston Workers Club, which also has a $1 million account with the bank, has indicated it may also follow Council's lead.
I'm sure the community and the businesses in the area would certainly follow the Council's movement.
In spite of the massive show of support, State Manager of the Commonwealth Bank, Dick Perkins, said this afternoon the bank will close on the 11th of February. He said while the Commonwealth is reluctant to lose Council's business, a decision on Weston has already been made. As for residents, they haven't yet given up the fight. A protest meeting will be held outside the bank next Thursday morning.
If we do lose, it'll be after a hard fight.
Jodie McKay, NBN News.
Police say 4 men had gone to the Beach Street flat in Newcastle's east. One of them was stabbed in the back. It's understood he left the scene in a waiting car and was taken to the Mater Hospital. 2 women who'd also been at the flat were wounded. Although one of the women had her leg broken, they managed to get to the ocean baths nearby to raise the alarm. The 2 women were treated at the scene before being taken to the John Hunter Hospital. All are in a satisfactory condition. Detectives are questioning several men in relation to the incident. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
Not exactly the welcoming committee they might have expected, but the Falcons' 3 new Australian buys are now well aware it's all part of pre-season training, Newcastle style. Assistant coach Dave Ankeny puts the team through an intense workout designed to increase his athletes' general aerobic level. But some things don't change. Paul Kuiper made it clear he intends to continue his love affair with the camera and hams it up every time aerobics are mentioned. It will be at least another 3 weeks before the team gets on the court together to play ball. Until then, Ankeny wants them running plenty of laps.
It's a very long season. We go for 9 months, so there's no point in worrying about it too much at this stage. We'll just do it gradually, and we have plenty of time before our first actual league game, so we're not worried.
Team veteran Michael Johnson appears all too familiar with the drill and won every race, but the last when 22-year-old Tony Jensen pipped him on the line. The Falcons' first local trial game will be at the Cessnock Basketball Stadium in early March against the Townsville Suns. Though Macquarie's Bruce Munro sailed one of the best tactical races of his career to win today's Adams 10 class heat. While the more conservative skippers stayed close to the shore, Munro took a punt and headed towards the middle of Belmont Bay searching for breeze, and he found it, propelling his crew towards the lead. Not even a strong run on the spinnaker leg by some of the more fancy crews could haul him in. Others saw their hard work vanish before their eyes with a simple sail change. The 10-metre keel class yachts will continue heats tomorrow and Monday. At Merewether, the waves were a little bigger and causing all sorts of havoc in the heats of the Cooter Lines Teams Challenge. It's the first time sponsored riders have competed against each other solely representing the manufacturers, so there's plenty of prestige riding on the outcome, the winning team rewarded with an enormous marketing advantage. Each member of the 5-man team is allowed 3 waves, and all 5 must complete their allotment within an hour. Central Coast team Outer Island failed to front, pushing Hot Buttered straight into tomorrow's final with Aloha, Richo, Insight, Dalberg and Lineup. The surprise omission, Pacific Dreams. Tomorrow's final start at 1:45. In the audience, a collection of the most talented and credentialed athletes in northern New South Wales. Also there, people who've already enjoyed the honour of Sports Star winners, including sailboard Chris Lawrence and trampolinist Brett Austin. Judges had the unenviable task of narrowing the nominations down to 13 finalists. Due to the calibre of entrant, only those who claimed a state, national or world title made the last listing. Each finalist was presented with a small memento and a wealth of applause. Some of the most enthusiastic clapping was for newly crowned World Women's Surfing Champ Pauline Mensah. But St George Bank Chairman Jim Sweeney had the envelope that everybody had been wanting to see. Paul Harrigan, 1993 winner of the NBN St George Bank Sports Star of the Year Award.
It's been more than 2 weeks since the fires raged through Ron Fenwick's farm at Bulga, but the legacy remains.
How far back do you think it's put you?
Oh, it could be anything from 2 years to 3, 4, 5, depending on how quick we can start to clean the mess up and get started again.
155,000 hectares of land were scorched in the Singleton Shire, with most of the problems in the national parks and state forests. It's estimated about 10% of the damage was on private land. Showers have given some hope, but farmers are still in trouble. What we have here is a green pick, but the problem is it's just a pick, hardly enough for livestock. What the experts are hoping for now is gentle, drizzling rain that will renew the grass. But without the rain, the sunshine could burn this pick off in a matter of days. It's similar to a bad drought, with farmers forced to move their cattle to other properties or bring in supplementary feed. The Soil Conservation Service fears these dry gullies could be washed away in a heavy downpour. Up to 40 tonnes of soil per hectare could go.
You could get, particularly with some of these stream banks around the area, you could get problems with stream bank erosion or gullying occurring.
Farmers are advised to keep stock from gully areas to protect what vegetation is left, giving it a chance to grow and hold the soil together. Peter Ryan, NBN News. The battle has been raging for years to develop or not develop this land at Fern Bay. As seen in the pink colouring, 280 hectares for homes, with a further 280 hectares also to be rezoned. The Greens political party believes council has not handled the proposal properly and has called for a full investigation. But Port Stephens Mayor Innes Crichton says it's been dealt with strictly to government regulations.
You know, if they want to go to ICAC and the local government and the investigation section and the Ombudsman, that's fine. Toss in the Premier and the Prime Minister and the Queen if they want to, and it still doesn't worry me. I'm comfortable with the decision I took as to the procedures.
The council's indecision has frustrated the developer, who threatened legal action. In the anti-development vote, the Surfrider Foundation has entered the debate, saying a move to urbanise the coastal strip is highly irresponsible. In a special council meeting tonight, the decision on the development has again been deferred. Council will meet next Tuesday for another meeting to try and resolve the issue. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Seven-year-old Alexander Gallagher was born with a very rare illness that has left him with visual and hearing problems. Most of us are able to filter out background noise. Alexander can't. Sometimes the noises become so loud they're painful.
I've had kids who have described sounds that bother them, such as drizzle or light rain on the roof, sounding like, in one boy's description, nuts falling on sheets of hard galvanized metal.
The frustration felt by children with these sorts of hearing difficulties often results in behavioural problems.
If you have a sensory apparatus, either sight or sound, that is distinctly different from yours or mine, you literally don't live in the same world, because your information is coming in a whole different form.
Dr McCarthy says the treatment involves playing music through headphones that sounds distorted to the normal ear. This reduces the degree of sensitivity to the offending sounds. After only a few sessions, Alexander's dad says the improvement is obvious.
He's more interested, he's more cooperative towards both my wife and myself.
Dr McCarthy stressed that the treatment is not a cure, but says results so far have been very encouraging. Liz Rogers, NBN News.
Government fisheries officers have been touring the coastline speaking to fishermen on proposals for the industry in years ahead. At Hexham, they got a heated reception. In a sometimes bitter debate, fishermen have clashed with the government over quotas for fish types. Fishermen may have to buy shares based on their previous catch history, even though fish numbers vary over the seasons.
The quota system in other countries, both New Zealand, Europe, the Commonwealth, haven't worked.
This is one of many different proposals. New South Wales Fisheries believes our oceans and fishing industry can be better managed.
We can't do this alone, and if we're going to get this industry on a stable footing, then we've got to learn to work together, trust each other, and look for sensible solutions to a lot of these complex problems.
All these problems will be put to more discussion before a plan is presented to the Minister. If the reaction of these 300 fishermen at Hexham is any indication, it will be a tough fight. This is just part of the haul picked up last night. At around 2 in the morning, a Maitland woman was awoken by a distressed horse in a paddock. She saw youths in another backyard and called police. Police then allegedly saw 3 teenagers at Maitland Station and were surprised by what they found.
Spoke to them, and as we were walking away we saw bags underneath a stairwell near where they were sitting, and we opened the bags to find that they were stuffed full of cannabis leaf.
The drugs have a street value of $16,000. 3 Newcastle boys have been charged with possession, supply and cultivation. Police also interviewed a man at the house where the boys were first seen. It's believed he was unaware the teenagers were on his property. He has also been charged with possession, supply and cultivation of marijuana. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
40-metre three-masted barkentine Svanen is one of the world's few remaining great timber sailing ships. Her greatest fan, chief mate Matthew Bolton.
They're also very beautiful as well too. They're a pleasure for the brain, the eye and the body.
Built in 1922, she was first designed as a European grain carrier, but in 1969 she was refitted as a training vessel for the Royal Canadian Sea Cadets. Winner of the tall ships race in Sydney on Australia Day, the Svanen is just one of the vessels which will invade Newcastle Harbour this weekend. The two regatta will see all shapes and sizes of boats on the water, from the visiting naval ships to dragon boats and the high-powered Formula One speedboats. On Saturday night, a laser, firework and sound show is expected to draw large crowds. Liz Rogers, NBN News.
It was a rock fisherman's nightmare and a family outing which could have ended in tragedy. A 40-year-old Central Coast man turned his back on the surf and was swept into the sea. His 12-year-old son tried to help but was also washed in. A 10-year-old boy ran to the Catherine Hill Bay Surf Club for help. Lifesavers abandoned a surf carnival to rush to the scene, a gulf at the southern end of the beach. The rough sea prevented rescue boats reaching the stranded pair. Lifesavers managed to throw them flotation buoys from the cliff top. They winched the pair out. Both were later treated for cuts and abrasions.
Reserve grade appreciated the opportunity to finally get out and throw the ball around with some purpose after summer training. The backline worked well, and at one stage any one of 3 players could have scored. Former sprinter Chad Stevenson played out wide and was denied 2 tries and didn't appear to have any trouble adjusting to basic football principles. Norths did eventually get over the line after the Knights were caught short out wide. In other trial games, Parramatta walloped North Nelson Bay first grade, but the Marlins reserves did save some face and managed to get over the line in their game.